Hi everybody, welcome to the Wild Portishead live show. A mercifully short one tonight. We're going to try and keep this to a streamlined and very disciplined 30 minutes. So see you in an hour then, Chris. We got a couple of things we're gonna talk about tonight, and obviously we'll try and field any of your questions if you've got any. But we're going to touch on this evening on a couple of local issues that we are involved with and are trying to get people involved with, and that's Slade Road Field and Western Bigwood. Now we'll kick off tonight with Slade Road Field, and I think for this we perhaps need a bit of context as to what we're talking about here. So I'm just going to ping up on screen. Slade Road Field is this area of land here, just off of a downside, which is just off of Avon Way, and it's accessible via the footpath leading up from Slade Road here, and also by another footpath that leads up here, the entrance to the old school, and then up through Chris, what I think we can best describe these days as Portishead's newest wood, because that's come up from nowhere, hasn't it? Can Chris hear me?
Exactly. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, you can hear me. Yeah, that.
Well, it hasn't exactly come from nowhere. It was already there. And,
it was already there.
Once the people vacated, up it came.
This used to be the play area. This used to be. I can remember that because I was at school at Slade Road. But for one reason or another, the play area was left to go into disuse and has now disappeared, and it has been reclaimed by nature. So we have an area of land here. Like I say, this is pretty much Portishead's newest woodland. And then we have this field area here. This used to be the old football pitch, and it's one of the UK's sloping football pitches. So it slopes uphill here, downhill to here. It is one of the few remaining green spaces in Portishead. This is a fantastic wildlife haven. I know the spot very well, as does David Newton, who lives just around the corner from here. And a number of times I've been down there. It's surprisingly, despite the fact that it's by Slade Road, it is an amazingly quiet place, and you can actually stop and listen to nature. And goodness me, what species have we got down there? The usual things: wrens, robins, blackbirds, blue tits, great tits, house sparrows. It's just a fantastic little corner of the town where you can go and experience wildlife in what I think we can generally say is a naturally rewilded area. This old football pitch tends to kind of grow up a bit with kind of wildflowers and grasses and things. There's a lot of bramble around the edges here, which is good cover. But the problem we have is that it is on North Somerset Council's development list. Now, we've obviously got immediately we have a bit of a logjam here, because North Somerset Council 2 years ago declared a climate emergency. They've also launched their rewilding program. But here you have a perfect example of actual natural rewilding in action. But it's on the development list. They want to build on this. Now, you're going to have to ask yourself, how are you going to build on this area of land? If I just flick to another image, bear with me a second as I change screens here. Sorry, just bear with. Change screen, window, Chrome tab. Portishead Town Council, that's the one. If you look at this, one here, this gives you. We'll click on the link. Actually, there we go. You can see that the woodland by the play area is owned by North Somerset Council. The woodland is owned by Portishead Town Council. The field there is owned by Portishead Town Council. And if I just jump back to the main image again, Google Maps, there we go. Essentially, how are you going to get construction traffic into that field? I'm looking here. Slade Road already is a bit of a pinch point.
They will find a way.
Well, they'll find a way, but looking at it, the only two routes are to come up here, past Adlington House, at which point they enter Portishead Town Council land,
Yep.
or they go downside, which is here. Now, anybody who
that's quite narrow, isn't it, Jonathan?
Well, that's exactly what I'm going to do here. Is I'm just going to place a little person here to show you. If you can see that, you can see how narrow downside is. In fact, that's heading out towards Avon Way. If we just flick the camera around and we head down towards the end here, you can see how narrow that road is. It would have to be cleared of domestic traffic in order for heavy construction vehicles to go trundling down there and do their thing. Because once they get down here, they get down to this gate here. On the face of it, you'd think somebody would look at this and say, "Well, that's a no-go. How are you going to build there?"
They've trapped it.
It's impossible.
They've trapped it with development. If you think about it logically, they've trapped it with development already.
Yeah, precisely. So it's So we are, obviously, I have a deep connection with the site. I'm sorry, just get out here again. I have a deep connection with the site because I went to Slade Road School, and I was in the football team, and my father used to coach the football team. So I have visions of him standing there in his old Royal Navy Aran sweater and his tracksuit bottoms, puffing on a cigarette, and shouting us to run faster. But again, we come back to this point that we have a district council that's very keen on rewilding. Here is your rewilding spot. Here is something that you could actually take, and with a little bit of careful tweaking, you could actually, encourage more rewilding. You could do things, for example, like plant a community orchard. Community orchard down the bottom here at the end of the slope would be perfect. We were approached in the last couple of weeks by North Somerset Council with ideas for where to plant trees.
They've come to us for ideas of where to plant trees. That's amazing.
Yes.
Excuse me, I'm just going to make a few notes here.
Yeah. We suggested an ideal spot would be Slade Road Field, because it's North Somerset Council owned land, and you've got a perfect spot at the bottom where you can soak up water and everything, and that would be ideal. North Somerset Council rejected the idea. So, as you can see, it is as Chris says, it is a place actually boxed in by development. How are you going to develop it?
In the current climate, I mean, this is just my 4 pennies worth, and I've said this before about the site. I know it's your baby, but just looking at the site there, that's a great picture, because what you see is it completely surrounded by development. And at a time when we've had COP26 last week, there's various other conferences coming up, and we know our government's commitment to climate change issue, and of course to nature recovery, but importantly also what doesn't get often said is that it also has commitments towards things like using nature for relaxation, for mental health issues, and all the science is there. I've said this until I'm blue in the face. All the science is there of how good nature is. Now imagine that you are around that particular area during the springtime. And I spoke to 2 residents the other day that actually live up in Briery Road. And I said to them, I'm walking up through that particular woodland, which you can see. I'm not sure if my mouse actually works there, but this woodland, which has literally regenerated itself without the use of plastic, and I was walking up through there, and I met two residents. We were just talking about the wildlife that's actually there, and the fact that I said to them, walk back down through here in the spring and get absolutely blown away by the sounds that you hear, which are trying to be louder than the surrounding traffic. And we know through all the science that is incredibly good for us, for our mental health, which also leads to good for our physical well-being as well. It's a prime site for protection, not just for wildlife, but for people.
Yeah, exactly.
No brainer. No brainer.
Yeah, one of the things we are also coming up with ideas at the moment is this area here, which is the Portishead Town Council owned land, where there is the old Portishead Play Park, is looking at ways a play area can be reinstated, but as a learning resource in harmony with nature. So you're looking at perhaps, this is very early stages, but you're perhaps looking at putting things in there, climbing frames or stuff which is FSC sourced stuff, so it's wooden, it's natural. It's a bit like you've seen. There are other places in and around North Somerset where you've got these kind of like learning areas, and that would be ideal. It then puts something back in the location for for kids and their parents to use, but it also is in a spot where you can actually introduce kids to wildlife and kind of educate them and let them know more about their surroundings. So yep, go on, Chris.
There's the old Slade Road School butterfly garden used to be right down towards the edge of the woodland, and that could be reinstated. It was a tiny area, but it was incredibly effective. What the children actually did, it's at the old Slade Road School. That could be reinstated. That would not compromise the woodland. That would not compromise the new play area, which I think is just a marvelous idea. And it's everything that we're talking about is all about people and wildlife. It's the two things together, which is the way it should be.
Yeah. And I know, kind of like talking long term, one of the things I've always said about Slade Road Field is that you could put in, you can mow paths in so that people can still access it. In fact, you can see here from this satellite image, you can see the natural path that has been eroded down the decades of people using it as a path. But you could mow shapes into it so that you've got almost that kind of, kind of like a capability brown kind of look to it, much like what North Somerset Council have done down the lake grounds at the end of Battery Lane. Just on that corner there.
I don't know if there's
go on, Chris.
I don't know if there is anybody actually watching from that particular area, but one of the things that I thought of which would be really nice there is it's something I'm actually working on potentially in my own garden. It's using the goat willow that we've grown in the garden very successfully. I've now trained new growth so that it grows incredibly straight. And one of the things you could do there is have a willow sculpture there, somewhere where people can go inside and actually relax inside a willow sculpture would be quite incredible. And this is something which would normally cost councils an absolute fortune, but it's something that the people can actually put together themselves. I've been looking into I've never done a willow sculpture before, so I'm doing it for the very first time. And planning it out, and it's actually quite an effective way of creating a little bit of shade, creating a little bit of wildlife area, but at the same time, if it rains, you've got somewhere to go, which is absolutely natural. You've also got a meeting point as well, where people can actually meet, sit down and chat. And one of the experiences we had in Dorset recently on holiday was the fact we kept finding across Dorset benches which were put down deliberately by Dorset County Council. And those benches had labels on them which basically said, if you sit here, you intend to talk to somebody.
Yep.
So brilliant. It's all about people coming together, but
Yep.
people coming together at the same time as the wildlife is coexisting around them are brilliant. Bring it on. Let's do this. If Paul Gardner's watching, which I think he may be, come on, Paul, let's do this.
And I think another idea that I've floated around is to perhaps, with a little bit of careful planting, excuse me, is have a poppy area, which then flowers every year and becomes our remembrance garden.
Yep.
What a fantastic thing that would be for Portishead to actually have a dedicated remembrance garden. So yeah, we are we are fighting for this now. In order to what can people of Portishead do about this? What they can do is they can go to the Portishead Town Council website, and in fact we do have we've put the link up. We'll put the link up on our page, on our Facebook page, and on our Twitter feeds, and on our YouTube page. But you can go there and you can fill out their consultation form, which is here, and it's Slade Road. Have your say on the future of this space. So you go down, have a read about it, and then fill out the consultation form. I would urge as many people as possible to do this, because this all feeds back then into the town council, which then feeds back into the district council. And to also say, just to finish this one off for this evening, this particular bit, is I would also like to throw open the invitation at some stage for the relevant councillors and officers from North Somerset Council who want to develop this site, is to come down, meet us, and show us how they're going to achieve this. Where is that traffic going to go? How are you going to be able to do this? How are you going to explain to the people living on Downside that they're going to have heavy construction traffic and all the associated noise and air pollution that goes with it going up and down their road for the best part of 8 hours a day for how many months it's going to take to build on that site? So we'll throw that offer open to the relevant people at North Somerset Council to come down to us, visit the site, talk to us, and explain to us how this is in any way practical. Chris, Weston Bigwood.
Yeah, it's not very far away from where I am at the moment. In fact, if this damn light wasn't shining in my eye, I could probably see it. Yes, things are. I think we had the meeting at the Somerset Hall, which I thought was very good. And people are generally now coming together. I had a call the other day from Paul Gardner to sit on the steering group, looking at taking everything more forward. But obviously, everything depends on any planning applications coming in, which so far I'm told haven't happened. But the emphasis here is that again, this is something that I said in the Somerset Hall talk, is that and with reference to COP26 as well, because people keep saying the Earth's gonna die. The Earth won't die because of what we're putting up into the atmosphere or whatever. It's more than likely it's going to be us that's going to succumb to this. The Earth will still be there and probably get over it, and etc. etc. In terms of Weston Bigwood, development surrounding Weston Bigwood will still be there. It's how it's pressured, and of course the pressure coming in from development surrounding it will be enormous. And at the moment, it's got I think it's 20. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jonathan, but 28,000 people surrounding it in terms of the whole of Portishead. It's a very popular woodland. It's an ancient woodland. And so it gets visitors, not just from Portishead, it gets visitors from all over the country. It was labelled in Wikipedia as one of the top 50 ancient woodlands in the country. It has some very special species in it. So it attracts attention. And you only have to go and walk along some of the paths, particularly during the pandemic. But even now, I was up there today, and some of the paths are really suffering because of the amount of footfall throughout. So what we need to do with Weston Bigwood, without a shadow of a doubt, and I think everybody agrees with what I proposed, and that is that we should be thinking about expanding it by utilising some of the land that surrounds it, and that will make it more sustainable. But in order to do that, the green belt must be upheld. And I was rather pleased to see that we've posted what our MP Liam Fox has actually said, and that the green belt, in his words, must be protected. So that means if his word was gospel, then of course we wouldn't see any development there surrounding it. We can all go home, but that's not the case, is it, Jonathan?
No, and I think the field, I mean, the two areas we're looking at in particular are this brown field here, if I'm right, and then
Yep.
also up the top here on Portishead Downs, which obviously you've got all this building work at the top of Avon Way and West Hill, and it's how much this starts to kind of creep down towards here. I mean, when you look at it, it's again, we're talking about some of the few remaining green spaces in Portishead. In fact, if we zoom out of this picture here, you suddenly realise just what a big area Portishead Down is. To lose that to development would be it'd be catastrophic to nature, as you say. Western Bigwood would still be there, but it would just put the squeeze on it even more. Not only in terms of noise and light pollution and the disruption, but also the increased number of people living in the area. Impacting
And
on.
also, I think to pick up what Councillor Bob Cartwright has quite rightly gone on about, and that's runoff.
Yeah.
So if you put a load of tarmac up there, as they found in places like Bridgewater and Taunton, put a load of tarmac down, and suddenly you have flooding problems. But the flooding problems may not be up there because it's on a hill. The flooding problems may well be down below.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And also, you're looking at the fields here. Merlin Park. You've got all these fields here. You have a wood there that is home to, I'm obviously teaching grandmothers to suck eggs here, raptor species and owls, and fields are favourite hunting grounds for both. You take that away from them, where are they going to go for their food? Where do they go?
That's it. That's it. But it's the old story, and I can remember from development proposals from years and years and years ago. It was always said that it's okay, wildlife will find somewhere else to go. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It's ever decreasing circles. And the fact is, if there's territories held in Western Bigwood, sorry, I don't think you can see. Can you see my mouse on there?
No,
you can't.
no.
No. It's only your mouse. So if I mean, basically, if you've got, let's say, for example, you can have for instance, buzzards living within Western Bigwood, and you say, okay, well, they'll go down the valley. That's not a problem. No, they can't, because there's already buzzards down there. So their area is already set out. And so to you can have a dramatic effect by development. That's obvious. You can create what I often term as developmental offset. But and I think in some cases, developmental offset can really work extremely well. But in this case, it's where do you offset? And that would be, and it goes back to what I was saying about Slade Road as well. I think of the amount of people you've got surrounding this site, and think about the footfall throughout Portishead Down. I'm using Portishead Down here as an example, but tremendous footfall across there. People need it. The people that live here need it. It's not NIMBYism. It's the fact that they need that open space.
Yep, no disagreements from me here. And like I say, when you look at the map of Portishead, to lose that area there would, and as you know from all these, as we know, it wouldn't stop there. It would, you would then be encroaching out onto the next bit and the next bit and the next bit and the next bit. And where do you stop? The Godeno Valley. Do we start going out into the Godeno Valley? It's yeah. So
Well,
there
I hope
are.
they use stilts.
Well, exactly, and yeah, precisely, and yeah, there are some Facebook groups out there to dealing with Western Bigwood. So if you search "Save Western Bigwood" on Facebook, there are some groups out there who would very nicely welcome your support if you don't mind. You mentioned rewilding earlier in the show, Chris, and we are going to run over a bit tonight, but hey ho. We mentioned rewilding tonight. Yeah, there is a problem with rewilding at the moment, isn't there?
Well, there is, Jonathan, and the point is in the word. I've been looking at the local papers, and I've been looking at the editorial, and I've been looking at how people are turning against rewilding locally because of what's happening. We've been through all this before, so if this is the first time you're watching this, tough. We're not going through all that again. But in essence, basically, what North Somerset Council have done is created what they are doing and have called it rewilding, and the it's not rewilding. That's the problem. And now people are writing into the local papers. I've had people talking to me direct and say this rewilding is a load of rubbish, and it's causing no end of problems. Blah blah blah. And I'm just trying to tell people it's actually not rewilding. Rewilding is something completely different. I'm actually talking about rewilding tomorrow night in the city of Bath. So I'm doing a full lecture tomorrow night in the city of Bath on the very subject. But in essence, you only have to Google search rewilding projects in Europe and have a look at what's going on there, because it's absolutely fascinating. It's not a straightforward pull out and let nature get on with it, so to speak. There is a lot of thought and design and science to this as well. And although the science has spent a considerable amount of time catching up with what is actually rewilding, it's kind of there now. And that is that basically rewilding is a massive land scale type project, and it does involve management. So this thing about what you've seen in the papers with people writing in saying hate this rewilding or hate this non-management, that's not rewilding. Rewilding will still involve management. Now, although I've said it's a big land scale type project, the point is that you can also do this in your garden, and to some extent that is exactly what I've been doing. And what I do is, when it comes to management, is play the part of the animals that should be there. Now, on some of these big European projects, it's absolutely fascinating. What they've done is removed fences, removed boundaries, and you can actually look at some projects in this country which are already starting to do that under Rewilding Britain. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant, because bringing down those fences means to say that you've still got grazing animals. The grazing animals are incredibly important, but what happens is that the grazing animals don't just spend all their time in one spot. The grazing animals are moving constantly. And for example, in Europe, they're moving because they've got predators behind them. They've got things like lynx, they've got wolf, and in some countries they've now got brown bear coming back. So a lot of these projects have been incredibly successful in Europe, and what we're seeing is a return to the really large carnivores starting to come out of Eastern Europe and starting to repopulate Western Europe. It's incredibly exciting. And so these are proper rewilding projects, and they do not exclude people. So, for example, I looked at one in France, in southern France, before the pandemic, and it seemed on first look that what they'd basically done is pulled out completely of this huge area, and that wasn't the case at all. There were still herbivores going in to manage those areas, but the herbivores were constantly on the move. One of the big ones there, one of the things that was really exciting was the wild boar, and how the wild boar were actually turning woodland over. but then forced to move so that the woodland got a rest. They were forced to move because a pack of wolves was following them. So, and the other thing that I thought was really good was that, again, at first glance, you think, hang on, people are being excluded from this. No, they're not. The paths are still maintained. So people still get access to all of these areas. So things like trees are allowed to grow naturally because that's what they do. So when we look at projects that we've got, for example, here, what we see is, and I saw this down, I led a walk for the good people of Wirral last week, and we went to one of the sites. They wanted to show me one of the sites where trees had been planted. Well, we just found plastic everywhere, plastic splintered across the ground, and they wanted me to see this. And there's a really good picture of me holding up one of these jagged edges and looking really quite angry. And we were lucky we actually had a district councillor come along as well, to come along and join on this walk. So it's really quite good that we were able to give this information. And in no way is that rewilding. It's a no-brainer. And the other thing is that something else has happened today. Now, the good people of Wirral, Wild Western, they've been very, very active. They've had a good teacher. I don't know who he is, but they've had a really good teacher. And what they've tried to do is take things into their own hands. So it's the public trying to lead. And they keep feeling that they're getting pushed back all the time. And one of the things that they said recently was leaving the leaf litter underneath the trees. That's not leaving leaf litter on a path or leaving leaf litter on a road, leaving leaf litter under a tree, because it creates, as your good picture behind shows absolutely beautifully, it creates a microclimate which harbors a lot of insect material. It also harbors the fresh growth of spring. Why? Because it's warmer, microclimate. So they put a picture up on their Facebook page. Do go and have a look, because the council have just come out and getting rid of all of the leaves underneath the trees. Why? And how much does that cost? Over to you, Jonathan.
I'm just having a look at I'm just having a quick look at the Wild Western site, but again, it's
not rewilding. So people, if there's any members of the public out there now that want to write and complain about what's going on, please do not use the word rewilding.
I think we need to come up with a new word to replace it. What can we come up with?
Tree planting.
Well, I mean, I fall back to my staple is spreadsheet ecology. You know, it's trying to do ecological things with to the automation of a spreadsheet. You know, without going on Jeff Goldblum.
Can I cut in and just say, look, at the end of the day, I know that North Somerset Council, you and I have spoken to the councillors, and I know at the end of the day, they're trying to do something. Yeah. We have tried, and we're not the only group, but we have tried to talk to them about this, and that there are better ways of doing this. And what we've actually got back is basically no communication, because we get accused of criticizing. I can't think that we're really criticizing. We were saying there's another way. There's another way of doing this. Yeah. And if we go right back to basics, then this whole thing could have been done by the public.
Yeah.
And just facilitated and given the green light by the council.
Exactly.
The plans were there.
Yeah. Yep. We will at some stage.
We will rock you.
We will eventually get to the stage where there will be that sea change in thinking, but it's just a complete.
You can't. The thing is, from our perspective, and I know I spoke to the other groups as well. The thing is that I say to you, I say to everyone else, who's trying to make a difference, who's trying to get on and do the right thing, don't get upset about this. There's no point. There's
No.
absolutely no point. We need to talk.
Yep.
The most important thing is to keep talking.
Yep.
And it's the only way that in the end you will make change is to continue dialogue. Think diplomacy.
I need to take a crash course in that.
And me.
Well, I say, you know, in general terms, in terms of good cop, bad cop, you're the carrot, I'm the stick. So anyway, on that note, I've just equated you to vegetable, Chris.
That's okay.
That's okay. We'll quickly round up tonight with our
other people call me a.
We will be doing another show just before Christmas. I think we should be doing a thing every now and then.
Or
no, I'm one of them as well. An apatosaurus. They call you an apatosaurus.
No,
is that
just
an apatosaurus
dinosaur.
or diplodocus?
This one's even better. Look at this one.
Yeah, that's a T-Rex of some sort. Or is it an Allosaurus?
Well, he's got a sail on his back.
Oh, in that case, that's a Spinosaurus then. Anyway, welcome to Jurassic Portishead. You might have noticed Chris and I do like our dinosaurs. Nature notes, Chris. Nature notes. What can we expect to see in and around Portishead over the next month or so?
Very exciting. Things are really hotting up. We've had some fantastic high pressure system, which has been over us now for some time, and what we've had is a continual passing through of things like redwings and fieldfares. Those are really building up in number now across places like the Somerset levels, across the flatlands around Nelsey, and across Congsbury Moor as well. So gradually what we're seeing is those wintering birds starting to fill up, and as we start to get colder days and frost, those birds will start coming into gardens. And that's basically because the food supply begins to run out, and they come into gardens looking for food. And in particular, any red berries which are left behind. Watch out for large thrush with a grey head, grey tail. That'll be the fieldfare. And instead of the song thrush with the yellow flash on its wing, look for similar sized bird with a red flash. That's called the redwing. So those two are extremely important to look out for. We've also got at the moment on the Somerset levels the gathering of starlings, which is going on. And if you're thinking about going down watching the murmuration, do Google search and have a look at the hotline first of all to find out where the starlings are. There is a traffic issue, particularly at weekends, where the roads get absolutely log jam. And it's best, if you can do, to go midweek. But again, choose the weather accordingly. Make sure it's a nice cold day. And if you happen to be down there, or indeed around Portishead at the moment, watch out for raptors as well. Buzzards are extremely active, but so are sparrowhawks. Those young sparrowhawks, which have, of course, fledged, inexperienced, so to speak, are now gaining a bit of experience, but are needing to catch food. And of course, if you're feeding birds in the garden and a sparrowhawk comes through and catches Bobby the blue tit that you've been feeding all winter, don't get upset about that, because you're probably a person that will be fascinated with watching David Attenborough's programs from Africa, and the fact that the lions are chasing and eating the wildebeest. Well, you've just seen it play out in your own garden. So when you see a sparrowhawk, don't go, oh my God, it's a sparrowhawk. It's going to get Bobby the blue tit. Say, wow, there's a sparrowhawk and it's going to eat Bobby the blue tit.
It's funny you mentioned
That's what they do.
I had a friend of mine come around to help me with some needed garden maintenance, and we're talking about just tidying up the front garden a bit, getting rid of stuff that's on the path, weeds on the path and everything. And we're having a cup of tea on the patio, and she said to me, what's that bird up there on that gutter? And I had the wrong glasses on, but I had to kind of like do this and kind of like, what is it? And I said, I looked, and I suddenly said, I need to go and get my camera. It's a sparrowhawk. And it was a sparrowhawk up in this gutter drinking the water from the gutter.
Wow.
And couldn't get, I was too slow. And as soon as it hopped off and flew, yeah, you could see it was a sparrowhawk. And then I said, have you noticed something else? And she said, what? I said, listen, garden was dead quiet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's always a way to tell they're coming in. Yeah,
yeah. And also, I'm just to finish off tonight. I was going to say in the locale, not necessarily Portishead related, but in the locale, if anybody living in the area, if you've never walked sections of the Strawberry Line before, it's magnificent. Obviously, you've got Yatton to Congsbury, which is from the railway station. Congsbury, two very good cafes at either end, so it's rewarding. Sanford to, well, it all links up. So Yatton to Congsbury, Congsbury through to Sanford, Sanford through to Winscombe, Winscombe through to Axbridge, Axbridge through to Cheddar. There is then a gap, and there is a section that actually runs from Wells to Dulcote, and there is a new section from Dulcote that runs a little further than that. I've now done the whole section of the Strawberry Line. Absolutely fantastic. The amount of wildlife you see is phenomenal, and by and large, it tends not to be kind of like massively overpopulated by people. So it's a good place to go. Having said that, now it's going to be massively overpopulated by people. But you know the Yanton section very well, don't you?
Well, yeah, we were down there at the weekend, and
Yeah.
what I was saying earlier about Red Wings and Field Fairs, they were en masse at the beginning, just past Yatton Station, just on the first bit there. Our friends at Yatwag, the Yatton and Congsbury Wildlife Action Group, do an awful lot of work down there. That's their baby. If you've got Slade Road, that's their baby.
Yeah.
And they also have got some nature reserves along there. So if you bump into any of our Yatwag friends, please give them a clap as you're passing, because they do a phenomenal amount of work. But they've been doing some clearing there, which is it's again very much along the lines that I've been talking about earlier. Little bits that needed to be done. So if there were big herbivores there, they would be doing it. So the people have had to do it because there's no big herbivores there.
Is this by the
So
water courses? Because I noticed along the water courses,
yes,
they've come like, yes.
yes. So and the Red Wings and the Field Fairs are en masse there. That last Saturday, I took the two little ones down because we were watching the trains, and we went down to watch the Red Wings and Field Fairs. But there's also along there as well. There was bullfinch, really good bullfinch. There were jays collecting tree material, tree nuts. Obviously, they're going off to do some tree planting somewhere. And there was also greenfinches, a lot of greenfinches and linnets, two birds which we don't see too much of in Portishead, which was really nice to see. So yeah, if you get an opportunity to get down there, you can also watch trains at the same time.
Fabulous. Yeah. Win, win, win. Cafes, wildlife, and trains. Win, win.
Oh
As
yeah,
far
I
as I'm
forgot the
concerned.
cafe. Do go into the cafe and support the Strawberry Line Cafe, because of course it's run by people with additional needs, and they do fantastic food in there and hot beverages. And if it's a particularly cold day, you're quite likely to have the fire on as well.
It's honestly, it's a fabulous old-fashioned Great Western Railway waiting room, and it's a joy. It's a joy to catch the train there. It's a joy just to go there and just not catch the train. I'm just going to say another shout out for another area, not necessarily Somerset, but quite close to us. That's Severn Beach. I'm
Oh
there pretty much
yes,
every week,
yes.
and that is a fantastic walk along the sea wall there. You're very close to the estuary. You go under the Queen Elizabeth. Is it the Prince of Wales or the Queen Elizabeth Bridge? The new one, the new Severn Road Bridge.
I
One
thought
or
we
the
called
other.
it the second Severn crossing.
Well, strictly speaking, it's the third Severn crossing, but
Oh, is it?
um,
Oh, well, that's news to me.
we'll come to that in a minute. But I've walked along there, and you've now got all your migrating seabirds coming in, your transitory seabirds coming in. It is absolutely fantastic, and even going there different times of the day, you just get a different thing every time. And there's also a very good cafe there as well, Shirley's Cafe.
Take
Very good.
a big telescope, good pair
Yeah.
of binoculars, a camera with a huge lens on it, and if the tide's out or part out, you'll get
Mm,
some brilliant wading birds down there. And obviously, some of them are quite big that you can see them easily, like
mm,
curlew. But obviously, some of them are quite small. But you do get big movements of
yeah.
waders there, sometimes forming some spectacles when they get
Yeah.
up and fly. Also, watch out down there for peregrine falcon, which might be hunting them.
Yeah. The only downside is at the moment that the walk that you can go out onto Pilning Marshes, which is where there is a big wetlands reserve there, They're currently working on the sea defences there, so you can't walk out onto the wetlands. When it's finished, it's going to be brilliant. And I do, I've walked out onto the wetlands before. There are little hides out there. It's fantastic. Anyway, so a big shout out to Severn Beach, local to us, relatively speaking. And also, just very quickly, a bit of trivia. There was a rail. The first Severn Bridge was actually a rail bridge up in Gloucestershire, which spanned across there, and it was hit by barges and destroyed. So, strictly speaking, that was the first Severn Bridge, but the first Severn Road Bridge is obviously the one up near Ost. And what countries does the Severn Road Bridge link?
You're asking me?
Going to need an answer, Chris. What two countries? What countries does the Severn Road Bridge link?
The Severn Road Bridge link.
Yeah, that one. Go on, just go for the obvious answer.
Isn't it England and England?
It is England and England, because it actually goes from Ost, and then it actually it makes landfall at Beachley.
Yeah.
And then from Beachley, there's a little baby Severn Bridge that crosses the River Wye. That's the bit where you go into Wales. So the Severn Bridge doesn't link England to Wales; it links England to England. So anybody out there who's doing pub trivia quizzes for Christmas, giving you a belter there. Right, we've overshot, Chris. Never mind; it was always the plan. We will be back next month for a Christmas special of sorts. So get your sherry and mince pies ready. But in the meantime,
we should do it. We should do it in a pub. Oh, I'm in a pub. I'm actually in a pub. I'm in a pub. Do you want to see my pub? Look at my pub. Look.
Yeah, we will do it next month. We will do it from your pub. In the meantime, as I've said, if you head over to our Facebook page, you will see the link to the Portishead Town Council consultation for Slade Road Field. Or if you head over to the Portishead Town Council Facebook page, or if you just cut and paste that link we put up there. Either way, if you can get involved and make your voice heard, that will be brilliant. So I think that's a wrap, Chris. We've overshot by nearly 25 minutes. But hey ho, these things happen.
Happy wildlife watching. Get out and see something. And get healthy.
Yeah, get out, enjoy this. It's the best time of year. It's the best season of the year in my book. So get out there and enjoy it, and we'll see you literally in a few weeks' time.
And also, there's plenty of places locally which are really special for wildlife that you don't have to use your car.
No.
You can walk.
Yep, the little riverside walk that runs from around the back of Sainsbury's off of Harbour Road.
Should we start again? We could do this all over.
We'll do that. We'll do that next month, Chris. We'll do that next month.
All right.
Yeah.
Take a steady, mate.
From both tonight, thanks to Chris, thanks to everybody who's watching. We will see you again in a couple of weeks' time. So from us, bye for now.
Bye.